So I will wait for some more minutes. Hello, Mr. Pankaj.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. You asked me a question last time. Sorry, I could not upload the video. Maybe I will try to explain about that S transpose delta F and all those things, that linear combination, at the end of today's session. So there's nothing serious into it, just a little bit of intuitive kind of approach to get some of the conductor conditions, and that's also maybe I will try to explain the best I can in the end. So I don't think any more people are going to join, because I think you're the one who was attending Rito's session also in the end. So I will start. Yeah. So let's start. So welcome everyone who's watching to optimization methods for civil engineering week 7. Today we will be discussing genetic algorithm. One starting like a brief overview and then with one example. So we'll do, I think, maybe time permitting, two iteration or at least one iteration we'll do to get a new generation in the genetic algorithm. So spoiler alert, that will be done in your next week session, but I thought maybe I will do it in this session itself. Okay. So what is genetic algorithm? Genetic algorithm, many people say it is an optimization technique, and also we are learning it in a course which is basically, the name itself of the course is optimization techniques. So, but I feel like genetic algorithm is nothing but a glorified way or a modified way of doing some random search. So maybe uh, there are some people who would not agree with me, but when I learned this thing, I felt that it is nothing but some random search, and then shifting your search space based on the outcome that you get in the initial search. Basically, if you want to define or you want to address the methodology in the genetic algorithm, it tries to mimic the natural law of survival of the fittest. Then, then again, the fittest will reproduce and create new offspring, and then some of the offsprings will have some mutated or changed characteristics. So that nature does so to introduce diversity in the system and to find even more and even fitter individuals or the solutions of populations. So that's what genetic algorithm also tries to do. And then this process keeps on repeating. And yeah, like we humans are also one of the stages in this process. We are also a new generation, and after that a new another new generation will come for us in our evolution also. Okay. So so the brief overview, how do we decide, you know uh, about how to do the genetic algorithm? So let's say we have this.
One question is there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how we can get this type of the figure for equation? Can you give me any idea? Three-dimensional figure for
uh,
an equation.
for an equation, so do you how many variables do you have in your
Suppose
equation?
two or three variables are there, and I want to draw a three-dimensional diagram like this.
So actually, Mr. Pankaj, unfortunately, this nice tree diagram figure you will get when you have two variables, and the third is not a variable. Actually, it's the value of the function. So, do you suppose to have a two variable function or something?
Yeah, and I want to suppose this is figure for an equation.
Uh, s-
This one. Then
Sorry to
how
interrupt.
can I find?
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Pankaj, but your voice was very unclear. I could not understand. Can you repeat?
Sir,
I
suppose
think see it's
the
not
given problem is
clear still. Can you type it? Can you type it? Basically, this figure is generated from
okay.
MATLAB if you want to know. Uh, yeah, so you can type your thing. I will read it because the voice is not coming clearly. I'll wait. I'll wait. How can we draw a three-dimensional figure? Uh, okay, so do you have a MATLAB, Mr. Pankaj, for equation? So basically, I generated this figure in MATLAB, and maybe R also we can do. The R is an open source software. So do you have R or Python? Python you have, so you can do in Python. Yeah. So if you go to the so I have an Anaconda, and it will take some time to open the spider that I use for compiling in Python. But if you search in pyplot, matplotlib.pyplot, in that you will have an option for isosurf or surface plot. So using that, you can actually get the three-dimensional figure. Okay, so here's what I will do. I will make a quick video, a small video. Let me write it down. So because I don't want to, you know, spend this class time on the 3D plot. So what I can do, so it will be a quick video. Just after this video, maybe I will upload it, and it will in the Python. I will show you how to plot this same figure. Is that fine? Okay. Thank you. So let's proceed with the today's topic. So our first step in any of the genetic algorithm, it is going to be how to decide how many bits or bytes, bits, yeah, how many bits do you want your x variable or a variable to be stored into. So you can have binary, but in that case you cannot efficiently encode the decimal or the fractions or the other variables. So we uh, create our own encoding equation. So we this is what it's represented as. So I think it was shown in the by sir also in the session. So basically, we want to write, let's say, some number 1.2. Then that, and we have given a range for our search space. So xi max, xi min. So using some fancy mathematics technique, we can actually represent that in the form of 10011. So like that, we have to. For that, we need to decide how many places this 0 and 1 should come. So for to decide that, we look at our encoding algorithm and see that there will be a precision term that is going to give the number of decimal places after our like 1.0001 or 1.01, how many decimal places after the point we want. So when we know that, we can put this precision term equal to that. So xi max minus xi min by 2 power l minus 1 equal to 0.01, let's say, and then we can get the value of l, that will be length of string. And based on that, we can get our what we say as a chromosome length. So if this is not clear, I think it will make much more sense when I do the solution in the when I solve a example problem later on in this session. So after we do that, after we know that let's say I want 5 bits in my one to represent my one value of x, one real value of x, then we have to decide on the initial population, like initial guess, nothing but initial guess. So let's say I decided 4 points in my search space. So these will be my initial guesses. So then I have to convert them into this 5 string encoded chromosome, and then I have to do the crossover and all those things. So the second step is to get the initial guess or the initial population. Then the third step is to remove or delete the weaker solution. So how do we say weaker? Means which is the farthest away, which is giving the farthest away possible answer from your accepted value. So in this case, let's say I wanted to find the minimum value for this particular surface. Then that point, which was on the farthest end, it is not going to be any interest to me. So I will delete that. And in this selection procedure, what I will do is I will take this the best point out of this 4 point that I had, and I will make a copy of it. So in the selection process, I still want to keep the number of in the solutions same, so I have to make the copy of the best solution. So we have now this as 2 times and these two as one. So after the selection is done, we have to do something called crossover. Means these four, one is repeated twice. These four are the fittest among the population, and now I want them to reproduce and create some offspring, and then I want to go ahead with the next generation. So for that, I think in Rito's session also he mentioned, and sir also mentioned that see, this was the chromosome that we had. Let's say we select 2 chromosomes, one this and one this, and this is the encoded form of that particular solution in the chromosome form. What I do is I choose that I will do a single point crossover. So that means that I will only have one side of this chromosome exchange with the one side of this chromosome. I will not do two sides. So let's say I decided that. So the 000 of this red one will go with the 001 of this green, and they will produce two offsprings. So like that, when I do this, crossover with all the four, we get four new solutions. So that's what we can see. So from these three, I get these four new solutions. So this is the new generation. These are also encoded in the encoded form. Now in the crossover in nature also, sometimes mutation happens, and why that happens is very important. So one thing you can notice here is the parents, these 3 dots with 1 dot repeated twice, and these offsprings of these parents, the new generation, are in their same vicinity. They are very close by, but that's not the case. Sometimes mutation happens, and mutations is necessary for the diversity. So you don't want to search only in this space, you want to search here also, and possibly in the minima also and some other places, to just to see that is there any other possibility or is there any better solution in the search space. So for that some mutation happens. So we had this new generation, and one bit of this each generation was changed. So why only one bit is because let's say you had these your parents, and then instead of changing only one bit in the offspring, one gene, let's say instead of bit, instead of changing one gene in the offspring's DNA, you changed the whole together all of the genes. Then uh, uh, maybe some people will take offense, but let's say a human will give birth to a turtle, but that's not what we want. The mutation happens only slightly, ever so slightly, to just keep the integrity same, but introduce new characteristics. So let's say mutation happened, some of the offsprings had some other characteristics. In this case they both are not what we want. So this is the new generation after mutation. we will do again the fitness test on these things. So now just I will go through again. So we have the new generation, we again do the fitness test, then we delete the two offsprings that were not to our importance, then we rejected the we make the copy of the two individuals that we thought were fit, and then we did a crossover, we got a new population. So you will see that the new population is also again in the close vicinity. Then mutation again happens, again the offsprings are going to the farther end, and some of the because of some mutation, you see one of the offspring has come closer to the optima. So then we again do the fitness test, and this process keeps on going till either we uh, uh, till we see that now this is the best offspring and we are not actually getting an offspring or the solution which is better than this, or you have reached the maximum number of iterations, like maximum number of reproduction, crossover, and mutation has happened. So these are the two criteria that stop this particular what you say, the genetic algorithm process. This is a very quick overview of the genetic algorithm. So, Mr. Pankaj, if you have any doubt in this quick overview, you can ask, and if not, then we
No,
will.
sir. No, sir.
Okay. So then we will proceed with the example. Okay. So let me share my tabs screen. Just a minute. Okay. So how was share? Yeah. Let me share. Start broadcasting. Okay. So I think this is visible. Let me. Yeah. So my tab screen is visible, I hope.
Visible, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pankaj. Thank you. So now let's try to do the optimization. So the problem that we will try to optimize is going to be, let me write it in a bold format. It is it's a single variable problem because I don't want to take too much stress on optimization. So on the example problem, so we'll have optimize x square minus 2x. Optimize, so for this we want to find the minimum x square minus 2x in the sample space of 0 to, in the search space of 0 to 2. So this is my function and this is my search space. So let's start. So step 1, do you want to tell me, Mr. Pankaj, what is step 1?
Sir, solution group population. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Initialization of the population. Here I am not seeing the population.
Yes. So initialization of the population is also one of the steps. But before that, there was a step like, so you want the value of x. What precision level you want the value of x to be? So the step one, maybe you can avoid calling it step one and just maybe you can call it a pre-processing. So you have to check like what precision you want your value. Let's say I want my precision to be zero point 0.1. That means when the solution that I will get, I want it to be not very high decimal place, but it should be around like a zero point 0.1, or the least count should be zero point 0.1. So this is the precision I want, and for that precision, what should be the length of the string that will store the encoded value? So I can actually represent, based on my encoding algorithm, I can represent the values from 0 to 2 in a various varying number of strings. I can have 100 like this, and or else I can have 10 number of, you know 10 number of bits to store that same variable. 1.1 can be stored here also, 1.1 can be stored here also, but using a bigger string for storing the information of the x will be computationally expensive. So we have to identify how much precision we want, and we have to do a trade off between the calculation time and the precision. So that's why let's call it as a pre-processing, because sir also mentioned the first step should be the initial guess. So let's call it as a pre-process. So based on this, and if you remember, I had told that xi will be xi min plus. So you can actually have different encoding algorithms, but I will share or show the one which sir shared in the class, because it seems to be easy. So we have this particular encoding algorithm, and this term in this algorithm represents the precision. Okay, and we will equate this to our precision and get the value of L, that represents, that is equal to the length of the, okay.
Number of bits.
Yes, okay, so let's write it as a number of bits, right? So we already know. Can you tell me, Mr. Pankaj, or we had a new person, but they okay. So she just left, so no problem. We have what is the value of x max and x min, Mr. Pankaj? Can you tell me? So x max is nothing but the maximum value in our search space, and x min is nothing but the minimum value in our search space. And I have written my search space here. So x max will be, so you can tell me whether I'm right or not. X max is 2 and x minimum is 0. Am I right?
Right, sir.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So then let's find out the value of L. So 2 power L uh, is going to be equal to 21. Is that right? Okay, so maybe,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And then we want to get the value of L. So for L, so maybe I will do a little bit of math and you can tell me if I am doing something wrong or right. L is equal to log of 2 and 21, and L is equal to log of 10, 21, and log of 10, 2. Then just a minute, let me calculate. Log of 21 divided by log of 2, we will get 4.392. So this is something we should get, but let me make it as a higher value and let's keep it as 5. So my length or the number of bits is 5. So the encoded chromosome encoded value will look like this. So is this correct, Mr. Pankaj?
Correct, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So this is, now we have decided how my initial population should look like. It should look like this, the initial guess. Now let's start with the process of initializing the population. Okay. So step one, initialize. Oh, sorry, the population. So we have 5-bit search space, and the number of there is also a very good trade-off we have to do here. We have to do a trade-off on the number of solutions, or the number of parents, or people, or any offspring in the initial search space. So number of people or solution in the initial, because if you remember, what we have to do is we have to conserve this number. So we should, if we have a bigger number, then if you remember in that particular plot, we will have a bigger chance of like a bigger search space every time, but at the same time our calculation computation time will be affected. So what is said is, you multiply your length of your chromosome by 8 or 10, 8 to 10, and then you keep that as your size of initial population. It is an arbitrary number, it can change, but this is something, if you don't have any idea, you can take this number. But if I
So one question,
Yes, yes.
so, for any one of the optimization algorithm,
Hmm.
meta-heuristic approach, can we decide the number of solution space, how many number of rows can be there, and how many number of columns if you are supplying the input
So
for optimization?
rows and columns. So
Yeah, yeah. Suppose, yeah, we have till now we have discussed five number of columns are
yes,
required on the basis of what I want the approximation.
yes, yes. So
And
yes.
now, yeah, can we decide number of rows or any number of rows we can take in the solution space?
Yeah, so that's what this is actually, Mr. Pankaj. So if you see, this represents one set of one solution. Okay, so for now, this will represent our x value, right?
Yes, sir.
But at the same time, when you have a function with x1, x2, x3, you will add five more things here, and like this total 15 bit is going to represent your x1, x2, x3 together. Okay. Now
Okay.
the thing is, this is your one solution, or let's say this is your
So
uh,
this is in case of multivariable problem,
yeah, this is in case of multivariable problem.
multi-objective.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now what you want to do is, this is basically a search space or algorithm. So you want to have some more guesses, so that will be here. So this will be your another x1, x2, x3. So basically, if you remember in my figure, in the figure that you wanted to know how to generate, I had kept 4 points, right? So those 4 points are nothing but the number of rows. So if I were to represent
Yes,
those
sir.
4 points here, they will look like this.
So what happened? I have studied a number of paper where feature optimization has been performed using genetic algorithm. Feature optimization means if
Number of
number of
Yeah, yeah.
columns are 50,
Hmm.
and then we are going to identify 20 columns as the best, having good properties for the
Yeah, like
prediction.
a trade-off between the
Yeah,
computational cost and the accuracy,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, in when am seeing those data set, the data set is containing more than 1 lakhs rows,
More
and we
than
are able to
Yeah,
one
yeah.
lakhs rows.
I
We
understand.
are
Yeah.
we are able to
Uh-huh.
apply this genetic algorithm over there.
Hmm.
So I am asking, is there any limitation, or we can apply in any number of rows?
So basically, the number of rows and columns, uh, the limitation will be the power of the system that you are using, Mr. Pankaj. If you have a powerful enough system, so this particular matrix or array will be stored in your system, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So it will be stored in your system. So let's say the papers that you have read, they might have a very good system, but in a personal laptop or something, what I have faced problem is when you try to initialize an array with a very big size, 10 power 6 into 10 power 6. So if you try to initialize an array of this size, your system is going to say that there is no space for me to store this big of an array. So there are two things. One thing is how to decide the number of columns and rows is the accuracy that you want. Second thing is the computational cost, because if it is going to go through and search 1 lakh points, 1 lakh possible solutions, it is going to take more time. So computational cost. And third is, which is not often considered or mentioned in the papers, is the system requirement. So these things will be crucial in the your your decision of making, like how many rows I have to select. But it is actually an arbitrary number. It will come by hit and trial only.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So actually, this particular thing, I don't think it has an uh, exact answer. But just one thing in the end, I will like to say that this is completely arbitrary. See, they had 1 lakh, 1 lakh points or 1 lakh rows. That means they had in that same graph they had 1 lakh points. So it will definitely increase the chance of getting a good solution, but at the same time it is going to increase the computational cost very much. So it is up to you that how many rows you want. And that's what I told here. Typically what sir also has mentioned in the class, or maybe in the next week he will mention, that the number of rows should be around 8 to 10 times the number of columns. Like some paper might have had this particular ratio. So but for my example, for this case, I cannot do for the 8 and all. So let me stick with, let's say, 4 rows or 4 solutions in the initial population.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so let me stick with 4. And now let's initialize these 4. So what I will do is I will initialize the chromosomes itself, the encoded value itself, and then we will decode the value. So we had, I think, 5. Yes, so we had 5. So let's say 1000111001000001111. So is this fine? Now let's decode the
Yes,
value.
sir.
Yeah. So let me just copy it and paste it here. 1 minute. Paste. Okay. So okay, can let me write here. So what will be the formula that we'll be using? We'll be using xi is equal to xi min plus xi max minus xi min upon 2 power 5 minus 1 and into the decoded value. Yes, do you have any doubt?
No, sir. No.
Okay. So let us write the decoded value. So since it is a binary string, the decoded value will be the decimal form of this particular binary string. So let's write it. So this will be 2 powers. So Mr. Pankaj, do you know how to convert from binary to decimal?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll just write it here so that we'll have 2 power 0, 2 power 1. Oh, sorry. 2 power 1, 2, 3, 4.
This will be 17.
17. Okay, so it is 1 plus 16. Well, yes, it is 17. And what about the next one? 17 plus 8, I think. Yeah, so it is
25.
25. And this is 1. Oh, no, sorry. This is 0. And this is
0, 1, 2, 2, 4, 5. 32, 6, 32 plus 16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2.
okay. Let me also
So,
do plus
24,
16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2
24,
plus 1.
32.
63, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have the decoded value. Now we will write the x value for this. So let me quickly write the x value. So x min is 0, x max is 2, x min again 0. 2 power 5 is 32 and minus 1 is 31. So let me write here itself 31 and x min minus 0 and 2. So we'll quickly write this. 2 divided by 31 into 17. We have 1.096. 25 divided by 31 into no, sorry, 2 divided by 31 into 25, 1.613. Then we have 0, and then we have, I think this will be 2, right? Yeah. So that's also one of the things. So you when you have when you do the decoding, or so sorry, the encoding of your variables, 0 to 2 in your particular this 5 string, then this 0 0 0 0 0 will represent this, the x min, that in this case is 0, and 1 1 1 1 1 1 is going to represent the x max, which in this case is 2. Okay, so now we have our x value. Now let's calculate the, so this is so we have decided now our initial population, right? Now we come to step 2 actually. So
For 63, maybe 4 or 2.
sorry,
For
Mr. Pankaj.
60, for 63
Yeah.
decoded value. Suppose we are putting 63, 63 by 31, this is approximately 2. And 2 into 2, this will be 4.
Okay, okay. So then I have made a mistake here. It should be. Is it 4? Then probably I have done a mistake here. That is it 63 only? Okay, so this is not 63, Mr. Pankaj. Then this is on C. We have 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus.
31,
Yeah, this is 30.
31.
Yeah, so this is 31. Okay, so we identified one mistake. Okay, so we have this 2 here. Okay, yeah, my mistake. Yeah, my mistake, sorry. So now that we have identified the initial population, yeah, so this is also one of the checks, that after encoding the value you have decided the number of strings, and then you use your formula to get the actual value, and you are getting out of range, then that means we have done some kind of mistake. So lucky that we caught it right now itself. Yeah. So we have initial population. Now we have to do the fitness test for the selection process. So let us write it as a selection of the fittest. Okay, so for that we will need this thing again. So let me copy it and paste it here. Okay, very good. Hmm. So for that we need to calculate the function value f of x. So we had our function as x square minus 2x. So let's put it here, 1.096 square minus 2 into 1.096 is minus 0.99. Then upon, for this it is minus 0.624. So Mr. Pankaj, can you tell me for these thing, these two?
This will be 0.
Yes, this is 0 and this one
To
is
be
also 0.
0, 0. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we know the function value, we have to decide a function that will be called, let's say we call it as a capital F, that will be fitness function. Fitness function.
Yes.
And the greater the value of the fitness function, the better our solution is. So for this
So,
case, yes, yes, Mr. Pankaj.
yeah, my question is there, how can we decide this will be our fitness function?
No, so that also is up to you, actually, Mr. Pankaj. You can, if you, for this case, so sir would have mentioned to use f is equal to 1 by 1 plus f, or f is equal to f, right? In the PPT, in the,
Yes, sir. Yes.
yeah, but it
Yes.
is up to you which particular function you want. So you will see that I'm not going to use this because it is not going to be beneficial for my minimization case. So what I will use is, it's up to you actually to use it. So that also is another research area, like which fitness function will be best for which kind of problem. So for this particular value, where my function value is actually going to negative and I am doing a minimization, what I will choose f as absolute of f. See, this also will be a problem if my function is like this, because then what I am doing is this, and these points may be considered as important. But what I have done is I have done a preliminary analysis of my function, and which may not necessarily be possible. But what I have seen is my function is always negative in my subspace. So what I can do is I can keep my fitness function f as the positive or the absolute value of this, so that the higher the fitness value, the closer I am to my minima. So this also is like you have to decide based on the nature of your function. If you don't know uh, what your functions like will look like, then probably you might have to will might face some problem. But if you know that your function is always positive or always negative, then you can do this kind of adjustments. So is did I answer your question, Mr. Pankaj? So is that there is no fixed function that you can use always?
So I also find a number of functions are available for this objective function, but
Okay.
I was not able to decide. That's why I asked.
So like in the papers you are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mentioning, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, so that's the thing. The fitness function selection also is another big topic of research. So it's up to the optimizer or the user that which function we want to use, and it depends on the problem that we are using. So like this particular function that I am using, you probably would not have seen this, but I can get away with using this function because my function value will always be negative.
And what happening? Some of the functions increasing the computational cost.
Ah, yeah, that is also true. Yes, that is also true. So then if your function is some kind of a variable, so let's say if function is f square plus 2f minus 2 by 3, something like that, then your computational cost is definitely going to increase. And if it is even more complex, then even further. So yeah. So okay, so let's say that I've used this particular function as my fitness function. Then my fitness score for this particular solution will be 0.99, this will be 0.624, and this will be 0 and 0. So these two are something that I don't actually want. Yeah. So let's see how do we remove them based on our fitness function. So we have still not done the selection, we have just calculated the fitness value. Let's do some selection. For selection, we will normalize this fitness value, and we'll call that particular variable as relative fitness. Let's normalize this. So the sum of this thing is, I think, let's call it as a 1.623. Yeah, I think it is this only, 1.623. And we will normalize 0.99, 0.640, and 0 with this value. So 1 by 1.623 is, so the relative fitness of this function is 0.6161, and that of the second solution is 0.624 divided by 1.63 is 0.384. So let me keep it as third decimal place, and they will have, these particulars will have zero relative fitness. Okay, now we know relative fitness. So is this clear, Mr. Pankaj? The sum will be 1 now.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, I know.
Yeah. So now, based on this, can you tell me how do we, what is the next variable that we want to compute? So now we do the selection. So for selection, based on these two variables, we will decide uh, whether this particular solution will be there in the next generation or it will not be there. So we will compute something called as expected count. So expected count of this solution into after we have done the selection process. So that is nothing but, since your sum here is 1, what you will do is you will multiply this each in term individually with the number of or the size of the solution. So we have 4 here. You multiply 0.616 with 4 and these things with 4, and you will get your expected count. So there are various techniques actually to do the selection of like how many, to decide how many copies or which solution will be selected. This is one of the ways that I am showing. Then again, there are various optimized techniques also to do the selection. But this is the most basic way you can decide whether a function will be selected, or sorry, whether a solution will be selected or it will be rejected. So let's see. Yeah,
By this method, this is going to biased towards the solution number one.
towards the solution number 1. So let's see if we have bias. Then we have a bias solution. So we will see what we can do about that. So let's see the number of counts. So 0.616 into 4, we will have 2.464. Then 0.384 into 4, we have 1.536, and then 0 and then 0. So then we do the nearest integer. So this will be 2. This will be, has to be approximated up. So it will be 2. This will be 0 and 0. So this is something called as a actual count. So this will be the actual number of copies that this particular solution has in the later stage. So you are right. If this is a little biased towards the good solution, but the thing is that's what uh, we want. So that's what happens. We need to keep the good solution and we need to remove the worst solution. So in this case, two solutions got removed. That is, that's something that was unavoidable. But this is something we want. Yeah, but also one thing to note is that we need to have diversity. I think that's what you were trying to mention, right? So we need to have diversity. Am I right, Mr. Pankaj?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so uh, the case when we don't have diversity is the case when we have like very high number of copies of a single solution. So let's say if I had all the 4 copies or of this particular solution itself, then I would have said that this is biased. Maybe let's see if we can make this particular using mutation or crossover. I think we will get a diverse solution. So let's proceed with this. Okay. So yeah.
Okay, sir.
So we have these two are selected to be a part of the future generation. No, sorry, to crossover. Yeah. So let me copy here. Okay, paste. Yes. So we have this. So after selection, we have this, and sorry, these are repeated one more time. 10001 1100. Oh, okay, I made a one more. Yeah. So we have this one. Now what we will do is we will do the crossover, or creating the next generation. So let's do the crossover of this and the crossover of this. So here actually your concern will be uh, good, that this particular thing is going to give me again only 2 unique copies, right? So
Yes, sir.
yeah.
One question here. Sir, is there any order for making the crossover? Suppose I having the four solution
Yes.
and I want to go the next generation.
Yes.
For that, is there any standard or fixed method we are going to take these two solutions for the crossover or randomly?
It is random, Mr. Pankaj. So to ensure that you are actually doing something unbiased crossover, it is considered. It has to be done randomly. So
Okay, sir.
I am just saying here these two, because I don't want these two to do crossover. Otherwise, we'll get the same solution. But actually, if I write a program for this thing, it can easily do this also. There is a possibility that it can do this and it can give me same offsprings. So yeah, that is there. It is random. So okay, so for doing the crossover, there is something called, we should let me draw a particular encoded value. So this, let's say we had a chromosome or a solution with this many bits, and we want to do the crossover of this with another chromosome or solution which has the same number of bits. Then I will choose that how many values or how many sides I want. Okay, this is a mistake. How many sides I want to do the crossover with. So let's say what I can decide is, I can decide these three will be swapped with these three, or, and one more thing I can decide is, and with along with these three, these two also will swap, or maybe I decide let's not these two, but the middle three will be swapped. So that again is the input from the uh, user programmer, or it can also be done randomly. So what you do is, you write a function or you take an integer. Let's say you create an integer that will decide how many number of bits you are going to swap. So that will be another one number n, and then you decide that whether it is going to be from the left or right. So let's say you create a integer that will be 0 or 1. So if it is 0, it is going to swap from the left. It is where, if it is 1, then it is going to swap from the right. So this also can be random. So is it clear, Mr. Pankaj? So for now, what I will do is, I will swap the first three.
Yes, sir.
So let me swap the first three for these three, and I will just directly write the solution. You can tell me if I'm doing something wrong. So we have 1 0 0 0 1. Okay, so we so even though I have different, I will not see any swapping, right? Because these two are same in all the cases.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then I don't want to do that. So let me do a little bit of bias changing. And okay, so even the till three also, they are same. Okay, so maybe I didn't do a nice job of getting an initial population. So what should we do? What should we do? Let's take first two then. Let's take first two. Let me write here. First two from the left. Okay, will be swapped. So these will be swapped. So let's say we swap these. So this is going to be my solution, or the offsprings of these two crossovers. So 1 0. Okay, then again I am still not seeing much changes. Let's go ahead with this. We'll do some mutation and we'll make a new population. 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 1, and same thing I will see here. So basically, uh, there are the offsprings are having exactly the same characteristics of their parents. They are nothing new. So maybe we can, in pictures we will see the son is having the exact same face of the father. That is happening here also. Some
The
movie.
cloning is there.
Yeah, cloning is happening. So let's do some mutation. So we don't want double roll. We'll do some mutation. So this is an output. There may be a chance that in program also this kind of output we can get. So let's stick with this. We'll not do any change here. So this is your crossover. So what I want to do now, I want to actually check the value of the function and the fitness of these two offsprings, and I want to see whether my crossover has done any improvement, or it has done some it has decreased the quality of the next generation. So let us do that. So we have only two unique numbers, so we will quickly do the check. So this is not probably done in the program, but let's do this here. So the decoded value of this particular thing is, I think, is it 17?
Yes, sir.
And this is 17 plus 8,
25.
25. Oh, okay, so they are the same as their uh, predecessors. So these are same as the predecessors. Yeah. So there is nothing is happening. So I don't think they have gotten any worse or best. So they are same. Yeah. So that's what the double roll was. Okay, fine. So, but in some cases, what can happen? What I want hoped to show was something else. Maybe I will do the mutation and I will talk about something called as elitism. Elitism. Yeah. So we'll talk about this. Let's do the mutation. So now we have this new generation, but let's do mutation and change the face of our new heroes. So we have this copy. It doesn't let me do paste. Did it allow me to paste? No. Paste. Drop. So this is something, and one thing I mentioned earlier in the figure, that the mutation probability, or the we should keep the mutation to the minimum, so that we don't end up. So let's say we have an encoded string of five elements. So max to max, what you can do is you should do the mutation of one element. But in case you have, let's say, 20-30 thing, then you can do 2 to 3 bits, you can do the mutation. Because if in this case, if in this particular 5 bit string, if you are doing a mutation of more than one element, then what they can do is they can, let's say your search space was here, they can actually, after mutation, they can go to the, like, they can be scattered throughout the search space. So it is not now a nice genetic algorithm, it is nothing but a random search. So we that this particular mutation and crossover separates this uh, genetic algorithm from the random search. So let's decide something. Let's make suggestion that in for this particular example, what we will do is we will only mutate one of the bits of a string. So you can,
Sir, here I also have one question.
yeah, yeah.
Is there any standard to fix what will be the our mutation method, one bit or more than one bit, where it should be?
So okay, so what you can do, Mr. Pankaj, is you can decide a probability. You can have a that probability will be with you, like it should be a random arbitrary number that you decide, but you should decide something very low, very less. So what sir suggested, and what is generally also commonly, not very high tech genetic algorithm, but it is used, is you use a probability of 1 by length of string. So this is your probability of that you will do mutate this particular string. So let's say what I do is, for I want to mutate this string. Okay, what I do is I create another string in which I am going to create a random number between 0 and 1. Okay, what I will do, I will say that I am going to mutate this first bit if the random number coming from 0 to 1 is greater than this number, because this will be 1 by L, it is going to be between 0 to 1, right? So if my random number is coming greater than this probability that I have assigned, then I will say I will mutate this. and if it is coming less than this one, then I will say I will not mutate this. So like that you can actually do, but again, this probability is something that you have to decide, and it is always considered to keep this probability as low as possible, because then you will have less number of mutations in your string, and that will be that will keep your particular, let's say this was after crossover, then after mutation you don't want everyone to go here and there, you want some things to be in the initial search space also. So it is said to keep the probability less than 10% at all cost. Is this fine, Mr. Pankaj?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh.
sir.
So the best we can do is give the probability. Like so, instead of me deciding that I will only mutate one string and which string, you can actually do the probability and do the coding of this thing in a MATLAB or Python. Okay, so let's say I decided. Now I will randomly choose which of the strings I am going to mutate. So to keep the randomness, I will do very quickly. So this. Let's say I decided this. And now let's make our mutated generation or the next generation. We have 1 0 1 0 1 after mutation. We have 1 1 0 1 1. We have 1 1 0 0. Sorry, I again made a one more. Oh shit. 1 1 0 0 1 1 0 0 0. So this is our next generation after the mutation. So this is first one iteration complete. Now I let's check whether we have gotten an improved solution or not improved solution after this iteration of the using the genetic algorithm procedures. So we have 1 0 1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 1 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 0. So what will be the decoded value of this thing? It will be 17 plus 4, I think. So 21. And what about this one? This will be 17 plus 8, 25 plus 2, 27. So if I'm doing wrong, then you can tell me. And this will be 25, I think. And this will be what? This will be 16 plus 8. Is it 24? Is this right, Mr. Pankaj? Also, Jasuri also we have here. So
Yes,
yeah.
sir, it's correct.
Yes, sir. This is
Okay.
right.
Okay. So now let's write the value of x. So again, so we had our x min as 0 plus x max as 2, 2 minus 0 upon 2 power 5. That was the length of the string, so, and minus 1 into the decoded value. So this will give us the value of 2 by 31 into 21, 1.354, 2 by 31 into 27, 1.742, 2 by 31 into 25, 1.613, 2 by 31 into 24, 1.548. So very nice. I actually wanted this to happen. So yeah, 1.354. Now let's compute the f of x. 1.354 square minus 2 into 1.354 minus 0.874. 1.742 square minus 1.742 into 2 minus 0.449. 1.613 square minus 2 into 1.613 minus 0.624, and 1.548 square minus 1.548 into 2 minus 0.699. And what I had decided was my fx is going to be abs of f of x. So the fitness value of this function 0.449, 0.624, 0.699. So let me check if I have the if this generation is performing any better than the past. So the maximum value here is 0.874, and the maximum value of this one was 0.99. Yeah, so I wanted this to happen. So in this case, what you can see here is the new generation is, I will write it in the red one, the new generation is worse than the initial or previous generation. So this can happen in your uh, genetic algorithm because there is so much randomness. So to avoid that, there is a concept of elitism. So what this particular concept is you, let's say you take top 2% or top 10% of your solution, and don't do crossover or mutation on that solution. You just directly, so you had your initial population, then you did crossover, and then you did mutation in your particular population, and then you got the next generation. But what elitism says is after the selection process, and you made copies of your best solution, what you do is you preserve one copy of each of the top solution, and you directly transfer it to the next generation, and this will have multiple copies, right? This very the best solution. So that one can do the crossover and mutation with the other lesser best solutions, and it can produce new elements in the next generation. But what you do is you have fixed spot in your next generation for these two things, so that to avoid, to avoid this iterate, to avoid wasting this iteration. Because if you logically think about this, we have wasted this iteration because we didn't go closer to the optima, we actually got away from the optima, right? So what you do is you preserve some spot in the next generation for the bestest of your uh, solutions in the previous what do you say, mating pool. So is that clear? That is the concept of elitism that we can code. I had a very small sample size or the population size, so I didn't do that. But I hoped that this would happen, and luckily it did happen, so that I could actually introduce this concept a little nicely. So is this clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay. So then again, we have the this.
Elitism is a optional or a mandatory step?
It is actually good to have this elitism, because why, I will tell you this. See, so what you did was you preserved, let's say we had this 1.096, that was the best that we had. We preserved this, and then we did our mutation, and we did our crossover, everything, sorry, and then we got some new generation. Now our the best solution will be either this 1.096 or something even better than that, but it cannot be worse than that. So in this case, what is our best solution? It is 1.5354, right? But in if we had done the elitism, we would have at least 1.096, and if luck is on our side, we could have also had 1.001. Then in that case, when you are doing the next iteration, this will be considered in the elitism process. So this will be conserved, and this will 1.096 will be sent for the mutation and crossover. So it is very good to have this elitism actually. Is that clear, Mr. Pankaj?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this is all for one iteration. Then again, you do the same process with this thing as your initial population. Do the selection, crossover, and mutation. So that's what I wanted to show you using the hands-on example for the genetic algorithm. Now, what I will do is I will try to explain to my best knowledge what Mr. Pankaj had asked in the previous session. So I know it's past 5, but if I again skip it, I won't be able to upload a video and all those things. So let me do it now itself. So Jasuria, you can also be a part of this, and let's see if I'm doing something wrong. Then you can tell me. So the your doubt started from here, Mr. Pankaj. So we knew that we can write the gradient of our function as a linear combination of the constraint at this point of optima. Till this, it was clear, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Gradient of fx will be linear combination of gradient of the constraints. Now what sir told was, let's say I have a direction S, that is a feasible direction, means that direction is along which my constraints are satisfied. If that is the case, then he wrote something here. He did the dot product of this with these things, and using this, he concluded that if your lambda 1 and lambda 2 is positive, then even if you go in the feasible direction, you will not you will go away from the optima. Let me write it like this: you will go away from optima. So maybe I should give a little bit more context. So the problem was to minimize the f of x for the constraint g1 x less than 0, g2 x less than 0. So this was the problem, and for this condition, this is what sir had shown. So okay, so let me try to explain how actually what is going on here. Sorry. So let's draw a graph. Let's say this is my g1x and this is my g2x. Let's say I have linear constraints. Okay, so this is my g1 and this is my g2. Okay, so we have g1x less than equal to 0 and g2x less than equal to 0. So this will be, so that is our feasible region actually. So the region that we don't want is this. So let me cross it with using the red one. G2x greater than 0 is this particular area, and G1x greater than 0 is this particular area. Is this correct, Mr. Pankaj?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what will be my feasible direction? It will be somewhere along this side, right? Because if I go in this direction, I will go into the infeasible region, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the my feasible direction, which will be some kind of a vector that is S, will be along this direction. Okay. Okay. Now considering this, taking an example of my, not even this point. Let's say I am in this point. Okay. Let's say I am at this particular point, and I want to go into my feasible direction. So what will happen? My gx value will reduce. and g1x and g2x both will reduce, right? Because this is the zero line, and as I go along the in the lower portion, the value is reducing, right?
Sir.
Sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
so this is reducing. So that means in this particular portion that I wrote here, this will be negative. Is this fine? Because my g1 and g2 are both reducing.
Okay.
So when this is negative, then the and so now then, if this is clear, let's say if my lambda 1 is greater than 0 and lambda 2 is greater than 0, if this is true, then this particular right hand side of your expression is less than 0, right? Because,
Yes, sir.
and if that is the case, and in the left hand side you have minus something that is multiplied with some number, and then it is coming less than 0, that means this particular number has to be greater than 0. Then only when we multiply.
Mm.
So if that is the case, that means what? Delta f is increasing actually, right?
So, left hand side not clear.
No, so okay, so if right hand side is less than 0, now we have fixed that the right hand side will be less than 0. Now for the left hand side to be less than 0, we are multiplying something with minus, and for that some this whole thing to be less than 0, this something has to be positive, right? Otherwise minus minus will be plus. Only if this x is positive can you write that minus x is negative, right?
Yes, sir.
So see, okay, I will make it little bit easier. So x is greater than 0, then you multiply it with minus sign, minus x, the sign of inequality changed, then minus x is less than 0. So this, if this is true, that means x is greater than 0. So in the using the same analogy, what I will see was that the this thing, this dot product of my this feasible direction with the gradient of my function is greater than 0, that should mean that my function is actually increasing, right?
Yes, sir.
So if, but what was our goal? Our goal was to minimize this function, and even though we are moving in a feasible direction, what we see that if lambda 1 and lambda 2 is greater than 0 at this point, even though, even if we are trying to move in the feasible direction, we are not going to improve our solution, we are only going to degrade the solution. So it is said that, so using this like qualitative analysis, sir identify that if at a point, like for this particular uh, minimization of fx pertaining to this less than equal to constraint, if you have a point that satisfies this constraint, and at that point you have lambda 1 greater than 0 and lambda 2 greater than 0, then even if you go to the in the feasible direction, even if you move more into the feasible direction, you will not find optima solution, you will go away from the optima. So this should be the optima according to him. But what will happen in my diagram, what I have done is I have told you that let's take this point, and in this point lambda 1 and lambda 2 are greater than 0, but that won't be the case. Only at this particular point you will have the lambda 1 greater than 0 and lambda 2 greater than 0. So something to note here, so I just shifted it, which actually this point will be here. Maybe it can be here also. Yeah. So my mistake. Let's remove that. Let's keep it here. So if at this particular point you have lambda one and lambda two greater than zero, then this is the point of optima, because you cannot go here. You can go only in the feasible direction. So you should uh, put that particular point as the point of optima. I don't know how clearly I have explained it, but you give it a little time, or maybe watch this video, the search video also. Then it will sink in a little bit slowly. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Thanks. So I think today we have a very long session. So we learned something very nice, that is genetic algorithm.